All right, so here we are, the end of our journey. Over the last few weeks, we've gone way back, right? 2,000 years into the past, walking in the footsteps of merchants and explorers all along those ancient Silk Roads. We've seen exactly how those routes changed, well, everything. But for this final part of our story, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to see how those very same ancient routes are being rebuilt right now, today. And it's all part of a huge global power struggle that's going to define our century.
So, where does this story begin? Picture this, it's 2013. The president of China, Xi Jinping, gets up to speak and makes this absolutely incredible announcement. He says, China is going to rebuild the Silk Roads. And he doesn't mean it like, as a metaphor. No, he means literally. A massive project with brand new ports, super fast railways, and huge highways, all designed to connect Asia, Africa, and Europe all over again.
And the scale of this thing, it is just mind-blowing. I mean, we are talking about an investment of at least $1 trillion. That's a 1 with 12 zeros after it. Over 140 countries have signed up. It covers these vast routes on land and on sea. This isn't just some big construction project. Honestly, it's one of the biggest undertakings the world has ever seen.
So, okay, that brings us to the really big questions, right? Why? Why would China spend all this money, all this effort to rebuild these ancient routes? And should we be worried? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, first things first. We need to get our heads around what this project is actually called. It's officially known as the Belt and Road Initiative, or just the BRI for short. And you've got to understand its two main parts to really get the whole picture.
Now, the names are kind of weird, I'm not going to lie. The belt part, that's actually the land routes. So think of this giant belt of railways and highways stretching across Asia. And then the road part, well, that's the sea routes. Yeah, I know, it's a bit confusing, but it's this huge road of shipping lanes and ports that goes across the Indian Ocean. So you've got a belt on land and a road on the sea.
And this is the moment where it all clicks into place. This is what our whole series has been building towards. Just watch this. When you take a map of this new Belt and Road project and you lay it on top of a map of the ancient Silk Roads, it is unbelievable. The similarity is just staggering. It's the exact same corridors through Central Asia, the exact same sea lanes across the Indian Ocean. The land is the same, the oceans are the same. The only thing that's changed is the tech. 2,000 years apart. Same routes, same logic. It's all about one thing, connecting China to the rest of the world and making sure you're the one in control of those connections.
So that brings us right back to that trillion-dollar question, literally. Why do it? Is this just China being incredibly generous to the rest of the world, or is there something else going on, a much bigger strategy?
Well, like with most big things in history, there are two sides to this story. If you ask China, the official reason is simple. They're helping out. They're bringing development and building things like ports and railways in countries that have kind of been ignored by big Western banks. The idea is to connect the world and create a win-win for everybody. But there's another way to look at it. A lot of critics, especially in the West, say this is really about extending China's own power and influence. It's about making sure they have access to the raw materials they need and maybe gaining some political leverage over all these countries that suddenly owe them a lot of money. Basically, doing what powerful countries have, well, always done. And the real answer? It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay, let's zoom in on the most serious criticism you hear about this project. It's a phrase you might have heard, debt trap diplomacy. It sounds pretty serious, right? So let's look at a real-world example to see what people are talking about.
Our story takes us to the island of Sri Lanka and a place called Hambantota port. Here's how it went down. Step 1, China loaned Sri Lanka a ton of money to build a huge modern port. Step 2, the port didn't make as much money as hoped, and Sri Lanka realized they couldn't pay back the massive loan. So step 3, in 2017, they made a deal. To wipe the debt clean, Sri Lanka gave China control of the entire port for the next 99 years.
So you see, it's the exact same story, but people read it in two completely different ways. Critics look at Hambantota and other big projects like a railway in Kenya or a port in Greece and say, see, this is the debt trap in action. China is using these loans to grab important stuff. But China's response is, hang on, this was just a business deal. Sri Lanka agreed to the terms. And besides, a lot of countries are crying out for this kind of investment, and we're the only ones offering it.
Okay, let's pull back and look at the big picture. All of this brings us back to the question we asked right at the very beginning of this whole series. How did the Silk Roads shape our world? Well,
It turns out the answer has one final massive twist.
The Silk Roads, as we've seen, completely shaped the world simply by connecting it. Think about it. They moved game-changing inventions like paper and gunpowder. They spread huge ideas and religions like Buddhism and Islam. They even, tragically, carried the Black Death across continents. They were the reason Columbus went looking for a new sea route and, well, bumped into the Americas. They literally shifted who had power in the world. And now, they are being rebuilt for all the same reasons.
Because here it is. Here's the big twist of our entire story. The Silk Roads, they never really ended. They just changed form. And today, this huge competition for influence, this new great game between the world's superpowers, it's being fought right now along the very same paths that camels trod 2,000 years ago. And believe me, the West has definitely noticed. The United States and its allies, they've launched their own rival program to offer countries a different option, an alternative to taking Chinese investment. It really is like a modern version of that great game for influence, only this time it's being played with ports and railways instead of spies and soldiers. So if you want to see this new Silk Road in action, like right now, today, check out these two incredible facts.
18 days, just 18 days. That is how long it takes for a freight train packed with goods to travel from a city called Yiwu in China all the way across 6 different countries to London. Think about that. An ancient Silk Road caravan, that journey would have taken months, maybe even years. Now, a little over 2 weeks. It's the same kinds of goods on the same basic routes, just 2,000 years later.
And fact number 2, just look at a map of where China is investing its money. They have helped fund or now have a stake in ports near almost every single major maritime choke point on the planet. We're talking about the Strait of Malacca. 40% of all world trade sails through there. The Strait of Hormuz, the main artery for the world's oil. The Suez Canal, you name it. In the modern world, these aren't just shipping lanes. They're the new oasis towns.
And that's the perfect way to think about it. Back then, if you wanted to control the Silk Roads, you had to control the oasis towns where the caravans stopped for water. Today, if you want to control global trade, you need to control the choke points. The technology has changed, for sure, but the strategy is exactly the same.
All right, time for a quick knowledge check to see what's stuck. Question 1. What is the Belt and Road Initiative and when was it announced? That would be B, a Chinese infrastructure program announced by Xi Jinping in 2013.
Okay, question 2. What's the #1 similarity between the ancient Silk Roads and this modern BRI? Yup, it's B again. They cover almost identical geographic regions and corridors.
Question 3. What happened at Hambantota port in Sri Lanka? You got it? The answer is B. Sri Lanka couldn't repay Chinese loans, so China received a 99-year lease. Number 4. What are China's 2 official reasons for doing all this? That's right, it's B. To bring development to other countries and connect markets for mutual benefit. And our final question, how does this whole Belt and Road project answer our big series question? How did the Silk Roads shape the world? The answer is C. It shows the strategic logic of the Silk Roads is still active today and shaping the 21st century. And that's it. That is the end of our journey along the Silk Roads. I mean, think about it. We have followed these routes all the way from 130 BC to today. From that very first journey by Zhang Qian all the way to China's $1 trillion modern vision. Thank you so much for joining us for this entire series. We've loved making it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. And hey, leave a comment below and let us know what surprised you the most about this incredible story.